Don't forget to head over to prowrestlingtees.com/616entertainment and check out the t-shirts. This video is also brought to you in part by the Patreon producers, without whom content like this would not be possible. What's up, Dan-Dans? My name is Ian. Welcome to the video. If you haven't been keeping up with the channel recently, let me just say, I put up a subscriber milestone poll, which I do every time this channel gains 5,000 subscribers. I put topics on it. You guys vote for the video you want to see the most. You chose top 10 finishing moves of all time. I wrote the script, I recorded my voiceovers, I edited the video, I uploaded the video. 5,000 or 6,000 of you watched it in the first day, and then WWE pulled it down, blocked it worldwide. So I'm frustrated as fuck with that. I am too pissed off to re-edit it right now. Maybe in the future I will figure out a way to put it back up. But in the meantime, I figured we could do a little Q&A, a little Ask Me Anything to fill that spot. Because I don't want there to be nothing for that subscriber milestone. I want there to be something. So let's get right to it. I definitely can't go through all these questions. You guys left me a shitload, but I'm going to go through as many as possible. And let me tell you something. If you like this concept, if you like sending in the questions and you like to hear me answer them, I do this every month on patreon.com/616entertainment. And those, while they're audio only, they're like podcast form, are like 90 minutes to 2 hours a piece, and there's 10 or 11 of them there now. So if you like this, consider heading over to Patreon. Those are all there for you. And a full season of Let's Play Friday. What the fuck are you doing? First question comes from RBZ. Which wrestlers would you pick to cast in a Mortal Kombat reboot? I feel like I've answered this question before, and the answer is none. I don't want any wrestlers in a Mortal Kombat reboot. AD Gonzalez asks, will there be a History of SmackDown versus Raw series in the future? No. I answered this at the end of the History of SmackDown, and I'll basically reiterate what I said there, here. I did not play SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. I tried 2010 for like 5 minutes. I thought it was terrible. I tried 2011 for like 20 minutes. I thought it was dog shit. I bought 2008 and I hated it. I've already covered SmackDown vs. Raw and SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 on Triangle X Squared Circle, the wrestling game retrospective series. You can count on me covering 2007, probably in Season 2 of Triangle X Squared Circle, but the History ofs, I don't know if you guys notice, when I'm doing a History of, one comes out per month. I usually do 5 installments. That's half a year's worth of work. That's 5 to 6 months of writing, voiceovers, editing, gathering all the footage, cutting it together. It's a lot of work. I'm not going to do a history of on a series of games that I don't love, because it's such a time sink. It's a huge commitment. And I'm going to do history ofs on shit that I really love and I want to celebrate with you guys. So SmackDown vs. Raw, 2 of them have been covered in Triangle X Squared Circle. Go watch those there, because that's probably where they're going to stay. Big Noob Entertainment says, have you ever had a wrestling figure collection as a kid? If you did, was it WCW, WWE, or both? It was both. I grew up a WCW kid. I would switch channels back and forth during Nitro and Raw and Thunder and SmackDown, but I was mainly a WCW kid. But outside of the WCW Toy Biz, like Smash and Slam line, shit started to get real weird and hard to find for WCW figures after that. And the WWF figures just kept getting better and better. We went from the Bone Crunching action figures to the Titantron Live figures. And then I would say my favorite wrestling figures of all were the Ruthless Aggression line. Like right when that first started for WWE in 2003-ish, I want to say. Those figures were so good. And I felt like it really changed from, back with the Titantron figures, you could always find Austin or Undertaker or Kane. And then when the Ruthless Aggression line started, I felt like, oh fuck, here's a Tommy Dreamer figure. Oh fuck, here's a, whatever figure. It felt like it was way more accessible. Jonathan Mag has the most important question. Why do you call your listeners the Dan-Dans? And Jonathan, this has 15 thumbs up. So people going through the questions saw you posted this, and so many people were probably like, fuck, I'm so glad you asked that. There's going to be one definitive telling, and anybody in the future who asks, you guys can point them to this video, or I can point them to this video. It doesn't really matter. Why you guys are called the Dan-Dans, and it's not just you guys, by the way. I'm called Dan Dan. The artist, my co-host on the 616 Entertainment Podcast, is called Dan Dan. My girlfriend is called Dan Dan. Everybody in my friend circle is called Dan Dan, and here's why. For 9 years, I worked at a used electronics / record / video game / toys / comic store. We had a customer named Marcel who would come in, and he was a super nice guy, but he was also a very peculiar guy. Marcel was his own person, that's for sure. And he would come in, and he had a very distinct voice where he would talk like this. It sounded exactly like that. And he would always ask somebody for help. And if you were going to help Marcel find a movie or whatever he was looking for, it was a 25-minute ordeal minimum. Marcel was an amazing guy. But I noticed, and we all kind of noticed, that he would call us Dan. We'd be like, where do I find this one, Dan? And after a while, it became, where do I find this one, Dan Dan? There was another Dan. Now, we don't know, none of us knew where this came from. It could be that we had 3 people at that store named Dan. So he probably heard us saying that and figured, oh, they're all named Dan. I don't know. But the question then became, where did the other Dan come from? That was never answered. But he would continually do this, and when he wasn't around, all of the employees would continue to call each other Dan Dan. It was mainly myself and guy who used to be on this channel all the time, my buddy Corey Fisher. We would call each other Dan Dan. And then not just each other, we started calling everybody we knew Dan Dan in honor of Marcel, because Marcel was the best, and this Dan Dan thing just took us by storm, and we were like, it's so strange, but it's so funny that the legend of Marcel will live on forever through Dan Dan. And it had to be 7 or 8, maybe 9 years ago. No, it had to be 7 or 8 years ago now. I was sitting at a table just like this with the artist formerly known as Mike Charles, my podcast co-host, and we were just having a conversation, and somebody said Dan Dan. And I said, if we ever get famous, we should call our friends Dan Dan. Or we should call our fans Dan Dan. And he was like, yeah, that's good. And then a couple seconds went by, and I was like, we're never going to get famous. Everybody's Dan Dan right now. And he was like, okay. So anytime we meet up somewhere, back when we could do that, someone would be like walking up to the house. You'd open the door and go, what's up, Dan Dan? They'd be like, hey, Dan Dan. Anywhere you went, everyone was Dan Dan. So it is in honor of the legendary Marcel. I am Dan Dan. You are Dan Dan. Everybody is Dan Dan. I'm never telling this story again. Jonathan Mag. There you go. Sid Duffy has the question, when did you first hear him? My favorite band is a band called Him. They're from Finland. They popularized their style of love metal. I first heard him, like pretty much everybody in the United States first heard him, was through Bam Margera. Now, you guys probably all know Bam. He was on Jackass. He was a founding member of the CKY crew, not the band. CKY is also a great band, which Bam's brother Jess is the drummer for. But Bam started wearing the heartagram, which was Him's logo, which is tattooed on me in a bunch of different places. I have a bunch of Him tattoos. Bam started showing off the heartagram. He started playing Him songs on Jackass and on Viva La Bam. And I didn't really know who they were, but every time I heard one of those songs, I was like, fuck, I like this song. And I didn't know how to track these songs down or anything, but I want to say it was on the season 2 and 3 DVD of Viva La Bam, the music video that Bam directed for Him, for the song And Love Said No, was on the DVD. I listened to it and I was like, this is my favorite band. This is my fucking favorite band of all time. That was 2003. It is 17 years later now. No band has ever come close to unseating Him as my favorite band. No band ever will. You know that a band is your favorite and that you love them deeply when through their entire career they don't have a song that you don't like. And that's what Him is for me. There was a question in here. When I come to it, I'll give him a shout out. It was like, what's your favorite Him song? What's your favorite Him album? I don't know. I'll never know. It changes on the day. It changes on my mood. But yeah, the first time I heard him was in 2003, and you guys still hear their music at the end of every video because that instrumental track that plays is a cover of their song Into the Night from their final album that was from 2013 called Tears on Tape. Into the night. Spiffy Gentleman, that's an interesting name, says, would you consider making Bioshock-related videos? Going out on a limb and assuming you're a fan, keep up the good stuff. Yeah, I'll consider it. I love Bioshock. If you watched my top 10 favorite games of all time video, Bioshock Infinite and Bioshock the original are both in there, and they're both in the top 5. I fucking love Bioshock. Bioshock 2 gets shit on, because it had nothing to... Ken Levine didn't have anything to do with it, who was the director behind the first one in Infinite. But Bioshock 2 is still really good. It kind of gets the Batman Arkham Origins treatment, to where those games were made by Rocksteady, and then Arkham Origins was made by WB Montreal, so people are automatically assume the games are bad. Both of those games are good. Are they up to the level of the other ones? Not really, but they're still good. But I talk too much. Long story short, yeah, I'll consider doing Bioshock videos. Chris Roberts. Help me with that, Chris. Have you ever heard about... Take two. Have you heard about the Resident Evil movie reboot? And if so, what are your thoughts on the casting? I did hear about it. You guys can Google around Resident Evil movie cast, and you'll see all the people that were chosen to play Claire, Leon, Jill, Wesker, Chris, and William Birkin. I think all the castings look good. The woman that they got to play Jill kind of looks facially, she kind of looks a little bit like Jill from the 3 remake. The guy playing Leon doesn't really look like Leon. The guy playing William doesn't really look like William, but they don't need to look exactly like the video game characters. As long as the fucking script is good, and as long as they get a good director and the movie is good, I don't give a fuck what they look like. They could have fucking cast... I don't know. They could have cast The Big Show as Leon. If the movie is good, that's all I care about. So, do I have high hopes for it? No. Am I skeptical of it? Yes. I'll wait for a trailer, and if the trailer looks good, I'll get excited. But it's a lot like the Mortal Kombat movie reboot. Am I excited for it? No. Am I skeptical of it? Yes. But if a trailer comes out and it looks good, I'm going to be like, okay. Brock ST9 asks, what do you think of Ring of Honor? Were you much ever a fan of it? I went to a lot of Ring of Honor shows here in Chicago. It was at the Frontier Fieldhouse. I was there the night that CM Punk superplexed Jimmy Rave off the top of the cage. I was there the night that the Dragon Gate guys had that 5-star tag team match. It was the first 5-star. Nobody gives a fuck about Dave Meltzer's ratings, but that match became famous because it was it's the first 5-star match in American history in a long time, even though it was had by Japanese guys. I was there for that. I was there for a lot of great early Ring of Honor moments, 2004 through 2006-ish. I was there the night that Jimmy Rave, Tyler Black, a.k.a. Seth Rollins, and I don't remember who else was involved, formed the Age of the Fall. It was Kevin Steen and El Generico versus the Briscoe brothers in a tag team ladder match. It was a fantastic match, and then afterward, Jimmy, now I'm blanking on his fucking name. The fucking fancy guy with the cool hair and the black fingernails. He and Seth Rollins tied the fucking belt loop from the ceiling around the Briscoe dude's legs. They hung him from the ceiling, and then Jimmy stood underneath while the blood poured on him and turned his white outfit totally red. It was fucking amazing. Awesome to be there live. Now, sadly, I finally connected out in the living room my smart TV. I connected it to the Wi-Fi. And I get all these weird TV channels. I don't know where, why, or how, because I don't pay for them. But they play current Ring of Honor stuff on one of the sports channels. And it's the worst shit I've ever seen in my life. I have no idea how Ring of Honor is still in business. I don't know how anybody still watches Ring of Honor. It seems like not a lot of people do, because if you look at those crowds, it's 40 people. And most of this footage is pre-COVID. So Very sad to see what Ring of Honor is now. It is what it is. Brock ST9 also asks, growing up, did you prefer Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network? I'll keep this one short because I'm a long-winded motherfucker. They both had great shows. Nickelodeon had Rugrats. They had fucking Rocket Power. They had fucking other good stuff. But Cartoon Network had Dexter's Lab, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Powerpuff Girls, Cow and Chicken, Two Stupid Dogs. The Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network. Come on. Brett Jarvis asks, I know you have a decent amount of wrestling games, but are you a collector besides that? Any specific console you would love to have that you don't have currently? No. Any video game console that I want, I have. I have all my PlayStations still. I have a Retron 5 over there, so if I want to play NES, Genesis, whatever cartridges I can, and I can also record it because it feeds out through HDMI. What do I collect other than that? This is one of my Superman shelves. Behind the camera over there is another one. On this wall, I am building a whole collection of the Superman Kenner figures from the 90s. It's like the only thing I collect mint on card. I'm not opening them. I collect records and CDs from my favorite band, Him, that we talked about previously. I used to collect comics and video games and stuff like that, but I kind of cut that out. But I like to collect shit. I have the collector gene. It's just in me. Cheyenne Nelson asks, what are your thoughts on AEW? I like AEW a lot. I watch AEW Dynamite every week. Big fan. That's really the only wrestling I watch anymore. So, big fan of AEW. Nick Rivard had a good one here. First things first, I appreciate the content you've been putting out. I'm pretty sure I've watched almost all your videos at least twice. But my question for the AMA/Q&A is, with the fairly rapid growth of the 616 channel and brand, have you found it harder to keep things fresh? And also, side question, do you feel like you're being pushed into a certain content lane? Again, thank you very much for all the hard work and entertainment. Much love. Much love to you, Nick. No, I don't feel like I'm being pushed into doing anything because I'm a one-man team. All the writing, all the editing, all of it, the uploading, promoting it on social media, it's all just me. Some people comment sometimes and they're just like, oh, thanks to you and the 616 team. If we're talking about the podcast, that's me and my co-host, The Artist. We're a team on that, but the stuff on the channel is all just me. So, no, I'm not getting pushed into doing anything because I'm in charge. I decide what I do. But as far as, like, keeping things fresh, I mean, last year I did, like, a however many episode season of Let's Play Friday, and, I mean, that was fun, but some of those ate shit. You know, the channel has, like, almost 72,000 subscribers now, but at the time that I was doing that, I had, like, 60,000. And I could put up a Let's Play of a game like Onanaki, which I really love, and I'm like, okay, let's tell 60,000 people about this game Onanaki, and like 700 people watched it. And like a couple years ago, I was putting out Let's Plays that literally would draw 14 views, you know, and half of them were probably people who watched it, paused it, and then came back later, so single-digit views. So I'm still happy that 700 people would want to watch me play Onanaki, but I don't feel like I have to do stuff that's going to perform well, but I want to do stuff that's going to perform well. I'm not getting like pushed into a certain lane because I still am branching out. You know, it was Mortal Kombat that got this channel success in the first place. This channel existed for like 10 years before anybody really started to watch it. History of Mortal Kombat blew the channel up. And then I didn't say I'm only going to do Mortal Kombat now. I immediately started doing the History of WCW video games because I also love old retro wrestling and wrestling video games. And then after the History of WCW video games, I did Triangle Like Squared Circle. That was 11 more documentaries on wrestling games. So that's Mortal Kombat and wrestling for a big audience. And then I said, you know what, for a new history of, fuck it, I'm finally going to do the History of Resident Evil, which is survival horror, has nothing to do with fighting games or wrestling games. I knew that that was a risk because the majority of people who have subscribed to this channel came here for fighting games and wrestling games, but that's not all I want to do. So I started doing the History of Resident Evil. It's a lot of fucking work. It's the most work I've ever put into anything I've ever made for this channel, and they started pretty slow. I was like, motherfucker, like these, I don't know if these are going to do well. Over time, they're really gaining traction and they're performing very well, and I'm happy with them. But at first I was like, hey, I knew this was a risk, and who knows if it's going to pay off, but I'm feeling good about it now. So, God, I talk way too much. If you want to hear me talk more, you can listen to the 616 Entertainment Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and probably wherever else you listen to podcasts. Trent N.A. says, would you do a History of Silent Hill series? Maybe. Ace Plays, what is your favorite Ruthless Aggression era pay-per-view? Survivor Series 2002. Dude, we open with Jeff Hardy, Bubba Ray, Spike Dudley against 3 Minute Warning and Rico. Elimination Tables match. So good. Big Show versus Lesnar, where Big Show ends Lesnar's streak. Paul Heyman turns on Lesnar. Trish and Victoria had that big match. The finish is fucked up, but they had a good match. What else happens? Elimination Chamber in the main event. First ever Elimination Chamber. Shawn Michaels comes out of retirement, wins the fucking world title. Unbelievably. I'm getting very paranoid. Are we still recording? Okay, we're still recording. I got very paranoid there for a second. Survivor Series 02. So good. G to the Next Level, who's a friend of mine, and you should go pause this video right now. Subscribe to G to the Next Level here on YouTube. This guy makes fantastic fucking videos. He's a hardcore Sega fan. So he's going to take you back in time. He's going to teach you a lot about the Sega brand, but it's not Sega specifically. He does cover other shit. His videos are really good. They're well written. They're well researched. They're well thought out, presented fantastically, and you should be watching his stuff. So go subscribe to his channel, and if you don't, unsubscribe from mine, break your dick off, and throw it in a river. That was so aggressive. G says, I know you and your dad were really close, Ian, so I was curious, what other hobbies did you and your dad share aside from video games and wrestling? MMA. My dad was a big MMA fan, as am I. I'm a much bigger mixed martial arts fan than a wrestling fan. I don't know if a lot of you guys know that. People are always surprised to hear if the UFC and any type of wrestling are on at the same time, which one am I going to watch? UFC, every time. And I'm not just a UFC fan. I love Ryzen. I love ONE FC. I miss Strikeforce so much, goddamn. But Bellator is the WCW of MMA. It's a fucking mess, but Bellator gonna Bellator, you know what I'm saying? My dad and I watched MMA all the time. My dad was a major outdoorsman, so when we were young, we would go fishing all the fucking time. I very rarely fish anymore. My brother fishes every fucking day still. He moved closer to the water so he could fish everywhere. But everything that I know about fishing, and I can go fishing on my own, and I know how to set everything up. I know what to do. It's all from him. He taught me all that. So MMA and fishing I would probably throw out there. Aerie? Is that how you say that? E-Y-E-R-I-E? Aerie? You gotta help me with that one. Have you ever wanted to be a professional wrestler? And if so, are you still wanting to be one? I think we all wanted to be a pro wrestler when we were kids, right? And into being 13, I think 13, 14, I probably still wanted to be a wrestler, but I am very injury prone. I have gotten and get hurt more than anyone else I know. It would not have been a good idea for me to even try to be a wrestler. That would have been a horrible idea. Are you still wanting to be one? Fuck no, I'd get my ass kicked. I wouldn't be good at it. I'm not athletic. If someone was ever hey, do you want to play a manager on a show? I'd be like, fuck yeah, that sounds like fun. But fuck no, would I be? I know I'm friends with a lot of wrestlers in real life. Good Lord, man. I remember going to the first freelance wrestling show, and one of my best friends, Matt Nix, in that match, he comes off the top rope and he gets slammed on a bunch of chairs. And I'm texting him the next day. I'm like, are you sore? And he's like, yeah, but it's whatever. It's okay, dude. Chicken Man 061187. It's way too many fucking numbers at the end of that name, man. What, did someone have Chicken Man 06 already? You had to add the 1187. He says, if there is anything in your past you'd like to redo, what would it be and why? I don't know if we're talking about life or just the channel. If we're talking about the channel, I would love to remaster the History of SmackDown, because people still watch that all the time, and I consider it unwatchable. My fucking voiceovers are horrible. That's the first video game retrospective I ever made. I was just so inspired by James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd. His 4-part series on Castlevania is like my biggest inspiration for what this channel became. It's so fucking good. You should watch it. So I was like, I can do this with a series that I love, like SmackDown. And my voiceovers are so bad. Here's the difference. If you watch any of my current stuff, Triangle X Squared Circle or the History of Resident Evil, when I'm on camera, much like I am now, I'm projecting. I'm reading off the question. I got a question for Ian and or the artist if he wants. I'm projecting. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking for the History of SmackDown. I just like read what was on the paper. And I'm thinking about how bad it sounds right now. I'm talking about like the graphics on the mat, and I'm just like, oh, I still use them sometimes. Who the fuck wants to listen to that guy make a video? It drives me nuts. I wish I could go back and just redo those, but it would fuck everything up. That video has so many views as it is, and if I took it down, it's not really worth it. But God, those voiceovers are bad. But it was my first one. Give me a break. Creative username. That's a creative username. Says, did you ever get physically fucked up or hurt a friend practicing wrestling moves as a kid or adult? I almost broke my friend's neck as a kid thinking a DDT to the hood of a car was a good idea. It's not a good idea. That's a really bad idea. I broke my leg very badly when I was a kid. Here's the deal. My brother and I were wrestling / playing King of the Hill outside in winter. We're in the south suburbs of Chicago, so we get a lot of snow. This is probably 1999 or 1998, something like that. The snowplows came through, and they didn't just push the snow out of the street. They, like, smashed it up into people's yards. So the old lady who lived across the street from us, her name was Sylvia. It's like an 8-foot fucking snow hill in front of her yard. So my brother and I and our friends are on top of this snow hill, and we're out there wrestling, and we're, like, calling spots and shit. And so he, like, grabs me, and he, like, throws me off the snow hill. So I go flying to the soft snow below, so I was fine. And we planned it, so it's not like he just tried to hurt me. So then while he's down there, he's looking at me, and I can tell he's going to, like, jump off and do something. Again, he's not going to kill me. He's going to, like, land on his feet and then pretend to elbow me. You know how it is when you're kids. I had just watched Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels have their Iron Man match. We had, like, some Best of WrestleMania VHS tape or whatever. And so I watched my brother about to jump, and he jumps, and I'm on my back looking up at him, and I remember seeing, I think it was Shawn stuck his leg up, and then Bret came down, and Bret's chin hit Shawn's foot, and then Bret, like, sold off to the side. I was like, oh, we'll do that. We did not arrange this ahead of time. So I stuck my leg up, and he's my older brother, and he was much bigger than me at the time when we were kids. My leg is up like this. My brother comes down, his chest, his fucking solar plexus, his sternum, hits my foot, breaks my leg backwards. My foot dangles into my fucking face. I almost kicked myself in the forehead. I roll backwards. I'm holding my leg. I'm like, dude, you broke my leg. And he's like, no, I didn't. Because we were both panicking. I just spit a lot. Yeah, dude, getting my leg broken sucked. Oh, that was no bueno. 16-bit Akira says, how did bathroom money Tim Ewers get his name? This is another good story. This Q&A is so much longer than I thought it was going to be. But again, if you like this, sign up for Patreon. There are 10 of these. They're like 2 hours a piece, and they're all like this or better. Bathroom money Tim Ewers I've known literally since like 1994, which is a long fucking time. We grew up together. He used to live one house down from me when I lived in Alsip, Illinois. And fast forward like 15 or 16 years, so we're adults now. I still lived at home. I was in my mom's basement, and Tim and I are down there. We're probably 17 or 18 at the time, and we had stayed up over an entire day, over 24 hours, just playing video games, fucking around, probably talking about, like, making videos. He was probably playing guitar because he's very good at it, and he does it all the time. Back then, he was a chain smoker, so he would light a cigarette, smoke a cigarette, put it out, play his guitar, light a cigarette, smoke a cigarette in his mouth, playing guitar, put that cigarette out, play guitar, light it. It was a whole thing. But the bathroom money name came because we were up almost 2 days straight, and I'm playing some video game. He's behind me somewhere, sitting on the bed or some chair or whatever he's doing. I hear him get up and leave the room. Don't know where he went. He didn't say where he was going. He comes back in and just like collapses. We've been up for almost 2 days. He collapses. He's done. And I turn around, I'm like, what are you doing? And he just goes, I like bathroom money. And then he passed out. I had no idea what that meant. I didn't really care what it meant because I was also delirious. I think we both wound up sleeping for a long, long time just to recharge our batteries. It was like a day or so later that I asked him, I was like, what the fuck did I like bathroom money mean? He was like, oh, I went in your bathroom and I was taking a piss and you just had quarters all over the floor. They must have fallen out of your pocket. So I stole them. I was like, what the fuck? You stole my quarters? And he was like, yeah, I like bathroom money. It's just as good as any other money. So bathroom money was a nickname that stuck. Great question, 16-bit Akira. Here it is, CrowFan 82790. Guys, with these numbers, man. You gotta have 5 fucking numbers. Favorite hymn songs, impossible to answer. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I made a playlist recently for somebody that tweeted at me, and they were like, I want to get into hymn more than just Wings of a Butterfly. What should I listen to? My wrist just popped. That hurt like a motherfucker. I made a playlist on Spotify that's called like Introduction to Him. And what it is it's not necessarily like all their hits. It's not a greatest hits collection. It's just a collection of all of their different sounds. It's everything that they're capable of. The link is in the description. Click it, shuffle through it, find out if you like the band Him. Maybe you do and you just don't know it. H2O Happy Dude says, rumors are floating around about AEW having the developers Aki create the AEW video game. Would it be a bad thing or a good thing if AEW did it in the same graphical style of the N64 games Aki created years ago? First of all, I'm glad you said it's a rumor floating around because there are so many people that pop up in my comments that are like, Aki is creating the AEW game. First of all, Aki doesn't exist anymore. They changed their name to Sin Sophia. They don't make games that are anything like what you're used to. They're all much smaller scale games. The people who worked for Aki back then are not the same people that work there now. So it's not like they can just drag and drop the AEW roster into like the No Mercy folder and you have a game. So, and like, keep in mind, AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, they were all like, oh, the TNA game, we're really going to make this feel like King of Colosseum 2 or WWF No Mercy, you know, the classics, the best ever. Does the TNA game feel like either of those? No. So Kenny Omega is going to say, oh, we're going to try and recapture that magic. So did AJ and Joe. Here's the thing. AJ and Joe are not video game developers. Kenny Omega's not a fucking video game developer. They know what they want to see. We know what we want to see. We're not in charge. They're not in charge. So it is all a rumor that something like this could happen. Would it be a good idea for them to use the same graphical style? Fuck no. Because the average person who's not an AEW fan, who's a video game player, is not going to see those No Mercy graphics that are all blocky and like people's arms like aren't even connected to their bodies. They're not going to see that and go like, this looks awesome. They're going to see that and go like, what the fuck is this? So they should update the graphics if they're going to... Here's an example. I'm cutting myself off. You hear me do this on the Let's Plays all the time. If you look at the mods, like people make mods for WWF No Mercy, like WCW Feel the Bang is a newer one. They updated the graphical style to make it look more normal and more real. So if AEW is going to try and capture that gameplay style, they're going to have to update it in certain realms. Jason Middlecoff says, this was a great video. Hopefully it will come back so everyone can see it. We'll see about that. I'm curious about your capture setup. I know you use original hardware, but do you use factory or high-end cables, upscaler, line doubler, capture device? Jason, good question. I don't know what most of the things you just named are. You said capture device at the end. Yeah, when I capture game footage, it's with an Elgato Game Capture HD, which they no longer make, which is a pain in the ass. That's the one that allows me to capture footage off like a GameCube or a 64. Systems that use composite cables, the red, white, and yellow, instead of HDMI. For any of my systems that I can capture using HDMI, I use an Elgato Game Capture HD60, which I believe they still do make, and they've made a better version of now. Why is it better? I don't know. But that's what I use. HDMI cable from the TV to the capture deal, another HDMI from the deal to the system, USB cable from the deal to the computer, record, done. And to sync my voiceovers and the the game capture, what I do is there's a microphone right over here that you guys can't see, which I'm going to layer over this. The audio that comes from the camera is dog shit. So what I do is I pull up like a menu and I hit the D-pad while counting. For some reason I count in Spanish. I don't know why I do it. But I'll have the controller in my hand and I go like, uno, dos, tres, And then what I do is, seeing the menu switch from here to here, I time with my voice counting. So I make sure that everything is synced up. I don't know where I came up with that idea. It's probably dumb, but it works for me. Jimmy enjoys soup. What's your take two. What's your color in Among Us? I don't know. I've never played Among Us. Diane Griffith says, will you do a triangle X squared circle on Fire Pro Wrestling World? Maybe. Sam Strickler, what do you have planned for future retrospectives? I can't tell you. I make a big deal. My elbow just slipped off the table. Did you see that? That was bullshit. I make a big deal about revealing what the new retrospectives are going to be, so if I told you now, that wouldn't be a lot of fun. For instance, 2020 is the history of Resident Evil. History of Resident Evil I thought of before 2017's History of SmackDown. And I just kind of bided my time and waited for what I thought was the right time to do it. So I got a whole bunch of ideas that I want to do, and I'm not going to tell you about any of them until I'm ready to reveal them. Goran Yubajevich? You got to help me with that one. I might have butchered it, but I might have done a great job. You let me know. This question is for Patches. How is living with Ian like? Edwin Malagon, do you watch AEW or NXT? I watch AEW, I do not watch NXT. I don't watch anything WWE produces. It's unwatchable. Blind Metal Gamer, what was the one game that got you into gaming? And what was your very first video game console that you ever owned, that you called your very own, and that you did not have to share? The game that got me into gaming, when I was little, the first game I ever played was Batman on the NES. I lived in an apartment. This is probably 1990. What was this? 92, 93? These are like my earliest memories ever. I was so little. And I remember my brother and I went downstairs to... there was like another family that lived there, and there was two kids named Jason and Justin that were the same age as my brother and I. And they had an NES, and they were playing Batman, the Sunsoft Batman game, which is great. And they had Duck Hunt, and they had the original Mario. That was my introduction to gaming. My brother and I got our own NES. Not long after, we got our own Genesis, and the NES disappeared. Long story. But the very first console that I called my own that I did not have to share was probably my PS3. And that was because I worked very hard to get that PS3. And my brother wasn't really into video gaming anymore. He I guess he was on a hiatus from it. Nothing was coming out that was really interesting to him, and he was just doing his own thing. My brother eventually bought his own PS3, and yeah, ever since then, we all kind of do our own thing. Dawsonify says, hi, been a big fan for a while. Loved watching your channel grow. Seeing the polls come out what seemed like every other day was a joy. Enjoyed the fact that a small channel that deserved growth was getting it. Joined at the SmackDown series, and it reminded me so much of my childhood. Thank you very much for the kind words. Anyways, babbling aside, LOL, viewership and success aside, what was the episode/series that you were most proud of? I think the history of Resident Evil is probably the best stuff I've ever made. And that makes sense because, like, as I keep going, I feel like I keep getting better. You guys can let me know if that's true or not, because you watch it. You can tell me. But I'm very proud of, like, the Showdown Legends of Wrestling Triangle X Squared Circle episode. I'm very proud of the TNA Impact Triangle X Squared Circle. I mean, like, the History of SmackDown was the first one I ever made. I don't think it's all that good anymore, just because I've gotten better since then, but, like, I'm still proud of it. People really like it. But the history of Mortal Kombat was great just because like I shared so many stories from when I was little, and talking about my dad at the end, and like a lot of the comments that come through on that one, for the people that get all the way to like the end of part 5, they say like, oh, much respect for telling the story about your dad or whatever. And like as I'm delivering those lines about my dad at the end, I get like super choked up, and they were hard to get them out. I didn't know that was going to happen. When I wrote it, I was like, I'm happy with this. This seems right. This is what I want to say. And then as I was recording it, I don't remember what the line was, so I'll just make it up. It was like, and I'll always remember, fuck. Like I gathered myself and I tried to do it again. Didn't even get that far. So then eventually I'm just sitting at my computer crying, like, what the fuck? Like, why can't I get these lines out? So for me to use a take where I was all choked up was just because that was the best it was going to get. And in the long run, I think I made the right decision. So yeah, I'm super proud of the history of Mortal Kombat because I do tell that story about my dad, and a lot of people have identified with it. And all of us identifying with each other and coming together over childhood memories and shit like that is kind of the whole point of the channel. That's what I like to do, if you haven't noticed. So, good question. Kyle Medeiros says, do a series on Dead Space. I'll give you $20. Kyle, I have a Patreon. You can give me $20 anytime you want, and you don't. So, will I ever do anything on Dead Space? Maybe. I love Dead Space 1 and 2. Dead Space 1 and 2. Discord 1.3. Sorry that a second question, but this is... I didn't see you ask another question. Whatever. But this is one that might actually be interesting for Season 2 of Mortal Kombat Monday. Is there a plan to make a video listing all the guest characters between MK9 and 11 from favorite to least? There wasn't, but that's a really good idea. Yeah, I'll do that. That's a really good idea. I'm sure a lot of people are not going to like it because there are so many people who are just like, why is Rambo in the game? Why is Rambo? Shut the fuck up. If you don't want to play as Rambo, don't play as Rambo. Okay? Okay? You're going to be alright. Dalton Pritchard says, I always wondered what made you want to start making videos on YouTube and start a podcast with the artist. I don't know. I always loved making movies when I was a kid. I don't know why. I remember myself and my friends Bobby Morrissey, Joe Hamay, Chris McDermott, Bathroom Money, Tim Ewers. Someone's walking around outside. What the fuck are you looking at? We would all get together and we would make our own versions of the Halloween movies. Tim had a Michael Myers mask and he had the jumpsuit and like the knife. So we would just make like our own Halloween movies. And I always loved it. It was my favorite thing to do. And eventually they all kind of got tired of it and they grew out of it, and I never did. I was like, this is what I want to do. I just want to make movies. And obviously I don't make movies like that anymore unless you count stuff like Dancer and Dancer 2, which are very strange short films that I made with my podcast co-host, the artist formerly known as Mike Charles. There are links in the description for Dancer and Dancer 2. You guys should watch them. Not a lot of people have. You guys should watch them. What are they about? I don't know. What do they mean? I don't know. You tell me. But what made me want to start a podcast was, obviously I have a lot to say and I talk a lot, but I was a big fan of Podcast Beyond. This tattoo on my finger here, which you may or may not be able to see at this point, is very faded because it's a high traffic area. I've had it redone a bunch of times. It says Beyond with an exclamation point. I was a big fan of Podcast Beyond back in the day. It was an IGN show hosted by Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller. And I just fell so in love with those guys and that show. I learned a lot through them about the gaming industry, about podcasting as a whole, about like how to present on camera, all that sort of stuff. And I just loved it when I was 20-ish, like 2010, 11-ish, probably 2010. I got super into the Joe Rogan podcast. I don't really listen to the Joe Rogan podcast anymore, but for as long as I listened to it, man, like I became a better person from listening to that show. Like I started to understand a lot more about myself. I started to understand a lot more about other people. And it's not just because like Joe would tell his stories from like growing up and how he learned certain lessons, but like other people much smarter than I am and much smarter than Joe is would come on that show and they would say shit that I'm like, I never thought about it like that. So this is always what I wanted to do. This is creative shit is what I like to do. I painted for a long time. I was never any good at it, but I like to do it just because I like to make shit, I guess. The James FTW says, Take two. I see from your videos that you're a him fan. Do you also like CKY? Yes, I do. I'm a big fan of CKY. I love CKY. Didn't think I was going to be able to see CKY in concert, but on him's farewell tour in 2017, CKY opened for him. It was a great show. Technically, it's CKY. It's Chad. I think Matt Dice is gone now. Jess Margera. But Darren Miller, their longtime vocalist, is no longer with the band, and he wasn't with them back then either. So for me, it's like, yeah, it is CKY, but it's not really CKY. You know what I mean? I'm not a Blink-182 guy. I have nothing against them. It's just not really my style. But I don't know how anyone listens to the last couple Blink-182 records and thinks, yeah, that's Blink-182. Not to me, it's not. And CKY without Darren Miller, no disrespect to the guys who are still in the band. I love Chad Ginsburg and the guys, but CKY without Darren Miller is not CKY. It's just the way it is for me. Trav Tagonist says, what anime are you into? None. I'm not an anime guy. I'm not anti-anime. It just doesn't really speak to me, you know? My girlfriend's a huge anime fan. She is so deep into Dragon Ball Z, has been since she was little. She loves Dragon Ball Z. She loves Attack on Titan. She cannot wait for season 4, the final season of Attack on Titan. I hear about it every day. She's so excited about it, and I'm happy that she's excited. It makes me happy. She's introduced me to Yu Yu Hakusho. That was a really fun show. I liked it a lot. I don't want to be a poser and say like, oh yeah, I like anime. I like Yu Yu Hakusho. If it wasn't for Tara, I would not know about it. So I give credit to her. Terrence Foreman says, will you marry me? No! Andres Gomez says, I've been thinking in a good question, but I can't get your awesome Superman collection. What? I've been thinking in a good question, but I can't get your awesome Superman collection. So I would like to ask, what is your absolutely favorite Superman story? All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison is 10 out of 10. Superman Last Son is 10 out of 10. There's so many good Superman stories. Max Landis' Superman American Alien is 10 out of 10. Start with those three. Before I give you a whole litany of Superman for All Seasons is 10 out of 10. Start with those four. And before you feel like, oh, I gotta buy all these books if I want to get into Superman, start with any of those four. Tell me if you like them. Those are 4 writers / books / stories that understand what Superman is, how Superman is, and what makes Superman Superman. That's going to do it. We answered a whole bunch of questions. I don't know how long this was because there's no timer on the camera, and I can't see the microphone clock from here, but this was a lot of fun. You guys gave me a lot of good questions, and remember, you can get 10 or 11 more of these on patreon.com/616entertainment. They go an hour to 2 hours on average. There's a whole shitload of them, and on those, I answer every single question that comes in. So if you like those, feel free to sign up over there. There's also a 12-episode season of Let's Play Friday exclusive to patrons. All 12 of them are up at the time that you're seeing this, so go there and enjoy those. The most recent Q&A that hit the Patreon was with my girlfriend, the beautiful Tara Darcy. So if you want to learn more about her, you can over there. I hope this satiated your appetite. I hope this was a good audible. Something else to switch in since WWE blocked my other video. I hope this fit. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, I love you, and I will see you. I keep doing that. My thing is I'll see you next time, but I'm saying I fucked it up. I fucked up the outro.